welcome back to the Super Centex Podcast with Chad Conine and DJ Ramirez. I'm Brice Cherry. Good to be with y'all again.
Yeah, great to be here.
DJ survived ACL.
I walked like 20 miles the entire weekend.
Good. That's good for your steps. Hey, I noticed Sturgill Simpson is going to be there this weekend. Only one weekend for him at that festival. And I'm tempted to just go because
he was there this
Sturgill
weekend.
Simpson doesn't play very often, huh?
He was there this weekend.
Oh, he was there last weekend? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was
My
one
bad.
of the contenders.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, I just hadn't seen anything, and I saw a clip from him playing in Oklahoma, and I thought, dang, maybe.
Well,
All right. Well, we're getting some insight into your weekend planning. Let's talk about our Friday night planning. So outside of some smaller 6-man districts, we've got district play pretty much going for everybody, this week. So looking at this week's schedule, I thought it shaped up as maybe one of the best weeks we've had all year in terms of just quality games up and down the schedule. Who is a team in your minds that could elevate themselves as maybe a contender if they were to win this week? What do you think?
Let me pull up the schedule real quick. I was thinking probably if Gatesville can beat La Vega, they're gonna surprise a lot of people, right? And this district is so interesting. It's so hard to really gauge where a lot of people are because they all played really tough schedules, right? Like you look at China Spring coming in at 1-4, but it's not like they're a bad team. They just played other really good teams. You look at Connolly, who's coming off of 2 losses, but they're not. That isn't really an indication of who they're going to be in district, right? And I feel like Gatesville is very similar. Their schedule may not be as tough as La Vega's. Obviously, La Vega is coming in as the district favorite and, has played some really tough. It's like, I think 3 of their 5 non-district games were ranked opponents. So, but I feel like if Gatesville has a chance to come out with the upset, and if they can do that, I feel like that might shake things up in that district, and it might put them above where a lot of us think they're going to be.
The Hornets would create some buzz if they were to do that. So
and
that one's for free.
And that's another reason we'll pull the curtain back a little bit and we'll reveal that I kind of tried to gaslight DJ a little bit about the Gatesville La Vega game.
You were trying to go. Yeah.
I wanted to go to that one.
You'll see a good one too, and this could be an answer to this question.
Yeah, that one was my second choice, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Troy and Franklin. I mean, I feel like Franklin's one of those teams out there that gets everybody's best shot. Whenever they show up in town, everybody's like, "This is our chance to show what we can do." This question is interesting. I think we got a lot of Central Texas teams that if they were cars on a used car lot, you might go out there and go, maybe.
I got to give this thing a test drive.
Yeah, you're like, gosh, I don't know. I think the La Vega Pirates are one that that they're a Ferrari in the body of an old Firebird. They don't look too good right now. They got some dings in them, but they could really rev it up. And I'm not putting a lot of stock in Gatesville creating that buzz. I think La Vega's going to go out there and show who they are in that one.
Don't sleep on the Hornets, but I do tend to agree with you. I picked La Vega, obviously. To me, Troy coming in at 5-0 with a lot of confidence against Franklin. They have a strong running game in addition to the passing game that we expected to see this year with McMurtry and Ketchum. Is it Jaden Lucky? Is that the kid's name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll be really interested to see how that one comes out, and if Troy is able to, upset Franklin. I think that would open the eyes of a lot of people around the state. Probably would get the Trojans into the state rankings, I would think.
And that district is also like the rest of their teams outside of Troy and Franklin are kind of on a downswing right now. A lot of them have also had tough non-district schedules, but it's also like, I mean, you look at, I think Rockdale's 3-2, um,
Cameron and
and
McGregor in that
Cameron
district, right?
McGregor,
Yeah,
yeah.
I flipped a pick on that today. By the way, I flipped to McGregor.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think I picked McGregor, so
Yeah, so and I think I mean Academy's also kind of not shown the same kind of joie de vivre that they had last season. So yeah, I feel like if Troy can beat Franklin, it's their district. So yeah.
nice. Yeah.
I think I love about DJ is she can bring the Espanol in. She can bring a little French in from a little Louisiana background.
we got it going. Yeah.
You spice.
We'll have to have some
Uh-huh.
subtitles here on the podcast. So right now we've got 8 public schools ranked in the state polls. More than half of those are in 6-man, 5 of the 8. So those ranked teams are Robinson, Hamilton, Mart, Abbott, Jonesboro, Aquilla, Oglesby, and Iredell. Um, and
Technically, we have a whole lot more six-man teams in the state rankings since all of the six-man teams are ranked on sixmanfootball.com.
well, yes, you're getting into Uber rankings, like
Uh-huh,
rankings of the entire state. I'm talking about the top 10,
You're
although
talking about the top 10 officially on Dave Campbell's
Dave
Texas
Campbell's Texas
football
football,
ranking.
yes. Now they do expand it out for 6A. It's a top 25 for 6A. But we don't have anybody in there. So out of those teams that are not in the state rankings, not in that Dave Campbell poll, who do you think can go deepest in the playoffs?
Well, I'm going to jump in first on this one. And I didn't necessarily discover this. I dug it up from the game that I was covering the other night. And I really think Greg Tepper and the squad over there at Texas football really needs to open their eyes to the Axel Longhorns. I mean, they've won 21 consecutive games in the regular season. And I know that they haven't played the toughest non-district schedule and their district may not have been loaded, but I mean, when you've won more than 20 straight games in the regular season, you probably deserve to be at least in the state top 10.
And they're not exactly just squeaking by either.
No, they looked they gave up some early points. They had a pick six on their first offensive play against Valley Mills the other night, but they got tough on defense. They have multiple playmakers on offense, and let me tell you, at 2A D1, if you got more than 2 guys that can take it to the house, you got something.
Good call. I like that pick. DJ?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Axtell is definitely like I'm surprised they don't get as much recognition as they did. I mean, they were undefeated last year up until the postseason, and then coming in, they were obviously district favorites. Uh, they've got some tough spots that they got to iron out. But like for your quarterback to go down and somebody else to step in and like not miss a step, um, it's pretty huge, and it speaks to how sound like their scheme is and their attack is. And obviously, they're not as big as other teams, but they're gonna beat you
With speed.
with speed and just with tactics and tenacity. So for sure, Axtell is up there. I think Whitney and Groesbeck are 2 other teams that I feel are a little bit underrated. Like obviously we talk about Whitney a lot and how good they've been and how good they're coming in this season. Whitney's playing Grandview, which is the team that beat them for the district title last year when we were for sure thinking that Whitney was going to be district champion. But obviously Grandview is great. I think that they've got a chance to take a step further than where they were last year.
That Whitney game is interesting because I think they go from like Grandview being that big hurdle out there to like they're going to kind of be kicking themselves if they don't beat Grandview this week. I mean, the Zebras have faltered a little bit, and my gosh, I don't know how good Academy is or isn't, but Whitney just put it on them 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
Wildcats gaining steam, I think.
And then Rosebud too has gotten so much better this season. They have a lot of veterans, and obviously them getting their butts handed to them in the by-district game last year against a team that is now their district opponent, like they're gonna be ready for the postseason. I think they're gonna have a little bit of that chip on their shoulder. So yeah, I think some of those 3A teams around our area are kind of flying under the radar right now.
And I think that you make a good point there about them being ready for the postseason because I think when that Mejia-Groesbeck district floated more east, it wasn't quite as strong, but now it's floating a little more west, and you get West and Whitney in the district. I like that. I mean, we got so sick of seeing Whitney and West play all those Dallas charter schools, we'd much rather see West and Groesbeck or Whitney and Mejia, I mean, those are much better matchups.
Well, in that Whitney Groesbeck game, November 1st, right? I'm looking at. That's a tasty one.
That is tasty.
Or no, let me put that in. I don't think that's going to be a very good game.
Okay.
If you want to go cover that
I
game.
see what you're doing. I'm gonna stick with Troy, I guess, as my answer on this. Again, Trojans 5-0, playing really well. And let me mention one other Trojans that we have talked about on the pod. I still say University's a sleeper, in the 5A D2 playoffs. They're very, very talented. You've got two, stud running backs. You've got a plethora of receivers. Keandre Brooks has really emerged as kind of a stud go-to guy for them. I know London Smith draws so much attention that I think it frees up opportunities for Keandre and Cade Bynum. But man, I still say obviously it comes down to matchups a lot of times in the playoffs and who you get, but University, I think they can make a run.
Well, they may. I am counting on them making a run. I think it's going to be really exciting to watch them. They probably are going to be looking to get on a roll because I think this Rudder game that they have on Friday is tough.
Yeah, agreed. Is there any district out there that's more wide open than District 13 2A, D1? So that district, of course, is Marlin, Crawford, Riesel, Rosebud-Lott, Bruceville-Eddy, and Moody. Going into this, is there even a clear favorite in this district? What do you think?
Cougars.
You're going with Rosebud-Lott. She's on the Rosebud-Lott train.
So far, from what I've seen from some of the other teams, they're the only team that I feel has been any sort of consistent through, the non-district schedule. So, Crawford's a little beat up right now. Marlin, I feel, is still trying to figure out who they are this season under, this first year head coach. And
God bless them. They still haven't played a true home game. I'll have a note about that in tomorrow's paper, but Legion Field, they've had under construction for a while now, and they are hoping that for their final two home games, which I think is Riesel and maybe Rosebud-Lott, whatever their two final home games are, they're hoping to be actually in Marlin. They play in Robinson this Friday against Crawford for a quote unquote home game.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, that's really I haven't seen enough of Riesel to really know what they're capable of this season. I feel like a lot of time I'll get their stats or I'll look up their games and stuff, and it I don't really know what they're like right now, you know. Obviously, they've kind of had some losses, struggled through some games. They're still a big, heavy like run first offense. Um, and they've got a pretty sound defense, but yeah, there's just not enough there for me to really form an opinion on them. And then, well, Bruceville-Eddy's kind of
Been
had
better.
some little,
They've
yeah, they're
been better.
better. Another first year head coach team. Same with Moody. I feel like they're kind of difficult to really say that it really expect anything
To
from.
me, the Bruce Valetti Riesel game is huge for the Eagles if they're going to try to like slip into the playoffs. I don't see them as like contending for a district championship. Chad, who do you think's the favorite in this district?
Gosh, it's a really tough question. I mean, we picked Marlin to beat Crawford on Friday, and it is very hard not to look at that game, and think of it as some sort of a litmus test for the district favorite. But I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I think you're probably right on the money with Rosebud-Lott. You kind of think in the back of your mind one of these days Crawford's going to pop up and beat Crawford, but then I've heard that they're really young and really small. So, uh, but the question is there any district more wide open than this one? Okay, maybe not because we can't see a favorite. We can't see a team where we think is going to be around November
It
1st
would be if Rosebud-Lott wins it. I mean, I'd
Mm-hmm.
have to look this up, but it would be their first district championship in a while. I mean, this is
Mm-hmm.
not a place that the Cougars have been accustomed to being, which I think is why we're maybe like hesitant to completely elevate them. DJ's
Mm-hmm.
right; they're clearly the one that's playing the best, but. I mean, I'd have to look a little bit deeper at their schedule. Have they played anyone? I don't know. I mean,
Well, and I mean, they've got continuity at the head coaching position and been building something and kind of staying the course for a while. So those are all good ingredients for a program that's gonna elevate, like we talked about in the previous question.
mhm.
Um, I tell you, but when we talk about wide open districts, you know the Gatesville La Vega game is a key one. The China Spring Connolly game is a key one, and we all picked the only game we all picked the same team on in our picks was we all picked Robinson over Lorena, but that's probably not a guarantee, you
Sure.
know.
Certainly, Lorena's had more success in recent years than Robinson, and I'm sure will give, that's a fun rivalry in a lot of sports.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree. I think there's not a ton of separation between those teams. La Vega, I think we would all agree is the favorite. Whereas this other 2A district that we're talking about, we're struggling a little bit to come up with the favorite. I mean, we're leaning towards Rosebud-Lott, but I mean,
That's true. That's
I'm
true.
not going to necessarily be surprised if it ends up being Marlin. Or, I, I mean, I guess I'll be a little surprised if it's Crawford, but man,
Marlin kind of, I mean, they got enough guys left over from a team that was playing Thanksgiving weekend and beyond last year but the reports about Marlin from DJ are that they just don't have it together very well in terms of
yeah,
playing
still kind of
sharp
figuring
football.
themselves out a little bit. So,
Like, I want to say that like I'm for certain, for sure, 100% like, oh, Marlin's gonna be the district champion, right?
Mm.
From what I know from last year, from what they've still got guys. Obviously,
yeah,
like you
I
said,
mean, they
they've
got
still got the
Ty
key.
Bell, they got Bryce and Maxwell Steele, they got Caden Judy. I mean, they've got some dudes.
It's just like you would think that they themselves would go in, like from that West game, there didn't seem to be any confidence, right? Or certainty. And I'm just
Mm.
like, especially like they were down in the second half, and it seemed like they just weren't sure of things, and that wasn't very reassuring.
Mm.
So
It's
we'll see how they turn
and
things
I do
around.
think we have to give we always applaud the first year coaches who come in and just tear it up right away. But one of the reasons we do that is because it's hard to do. There is
Mm-hmm.
some learning curve to all of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think give Jeff Rogers some time. I think he'll be fine there at Marlin. So we referenced it earlier, but DJ did uh, take the long
Full
straw.
rank.
Yeah.
Cool.
And she's headed to Gatesville this week, and I figured in honor of thinking about that lovely press box spread that they have in Gatesville, what is your favorite thing to eat at a football game?
Oh, I mean, barbecue is always really good.
It's hard to go wrong with some good
Um,
barbecue.
I had the first time I went to a Lorena game, they had these like ham and cheese sliders, and I was like, I'm still savoring those even like 3 years later. I
I
don't know who
remember
made
because
them.
you had been on a Bush's chicken kick, and you were like,
Yeah,
I just want something else
I just
different.
want something else, like I want something like
So the ham and
um
cheese slider spoke to you.
yeah, I want something at the caliber of like the Big 12 Women's Championship tournament before they moved to T-Mobile. Because the catering budget for the women's championship was a lot better than the men's
I
simply
remember
because
that.
their
You like
venue
go over the
wasn't as
women's
nice.
and they'd have really good food, and yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And okay, so here's the thing. I was gonna wait until Robinson went to Gatesville to go cover that game, but I was like, I haven't seen La Vega play yet, so why don't we go over there?
You're gonna
Yeah.
end up going both times, aren't you?
Probably,
Greedy,
yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
twofer. Chad, what
greedy.
do you say?
I always go back like to the good, the can't go wrong sausage wrap, a good tortilla. And I'll even be a little bit more nostalgic about it. Back when I was in high school, good old Midway High School back in the day, and it was more so like when I'd go see my buddies playing the JV game, and it'd be a cool autumn night, and you'd go up there, and they had sausage dogs with the Earl Campbell hot links, the red ones, the ones that were spicy and red,
Mm.
and that was just a wonderful thing to remember, and those kind of stayed with me all those years, as good food tends to do. Another thing that I'll mention, once upon a time, my good friend Woody Rogers, who passed away last year. Woody's daughter Sarah played with my sister on Midway All-Star team that won the Little League World Series, and then later that fall, I had just got a Frito pie, and I ran into Woody at a Midway football game, and I said, Woody, we tend to meet up at a lot of concession stands, don't we? So a little Frito pie on a Friday night never hurt anything either.
Frito pie to me, if you're outside and you're in the stands and you have a chill in the air, uh, that's a winner right there. Frito
Mm-hmm.
pie with the Frito pie in the bag
You always say that. Everybody always says that. Like I
with the
don't
little
like.
the little
Uh-huh.
spork,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
gooey and like melted. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff.
Gotta have some jalapenos on it too.
Here's what I'll say. Um, for the most part, there are some exceptions to this rule, but I feel like pizza and tacos, like tacos or fajitas, are hard to screw up. Um, it has been done. You can have bad pizza, I guess. You can have bad tacos, but I kind of consider like fajitas or tacos and pizza right up there with like chocolate and sex, man. I mean, you know,
All
I've had some
right.
bad pizza games. I'm just
Bringing up
saying.
bringing the After Dark podcast into the
I'm just saying,
regular week version.
if it's bad, you're still having sex. My wife.
This is going to be a very Louisiana thing, but my high school principal used to
We're still
make
trying to recover.
jambalaya for baseball games. So
All right.
was
Well, we should probably check out of here before it gets too rated R. But
you're going to go for some tacos, Brice? What? Said you like tacos.
I'm actually blushing. All right. See y'all.